Good evening and a very warm welcome. On behalf of the Motoring Committee of the Royal Automobile Club, welcome to our first motoring dinner for 2024. For those of you here for the first time, the club is the oldest motoring club in Australia, founded in 1903 by 7 pioneer motorists. The title Royal was conferred on the club in 1919 by King George V. And then in 1928, this magnificent building was built and, of course, which today is heritage listed. So we really are on hallowed motoring turf tonight. Very fitting is our special guest, John Waters. CBE is by any account a very special automobilist and has been so over a period of 70 years, matching a remarkable 70 career in radio, which began as an 18-year-old announcer on 3DO in Bendigo in 1953, then several other country stations before moving to Sydney and TUE in 1957, the first of 4 terms at that station. And in the late 1950s and early 60s, moving to 2SM, later on to 2GB and 2EW, before moving back to TUE in 1988, finally rejoining 2SM in 2011 to the current day, capping an extraordinary career in radio, as I said, over 70 years. And importantly, honoured by Queen Elizabeth in 1974 with an OBE, and again in 1978 with a CBE for services to broadcasting and charity. He's also won numerous awards for broadcasting excellence, as well as a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Producers and Directors Guild of Australia. John obviously needs no introduction, being a household name over such a long period, reaching an incredible audience over numerous stations across Australia. And we're indebted for his presence here tonight, and I really appreciate that, John. We'll talk about some of his special collector cars, which he's had over the years, when we chat later, and I'm sure you'll be absolutely amazed at the breadth and depth of John's collection over many, many years. I'd especially like to welcome John's long-time PA, Jody Borgo. Welcome, Jody. His assistant at 2SM, Zen Howe. Welcome, Zen. And John's driver and car carer since 1989, Andrew Robinson. A warm welcome to you all. Also, special thanks to Berthon for their support tonight. Unfortunately, they have an international conference in Venice starting next week. Their executive team sent their apologies, and who can really blame them for that? I should point out that Valvoline began in business before the dawn of motoring, founded in 1866 in New York as the Bridgehead and Cylinder Oil Company by Dr. John Ellis, firstly as a petroleum lubricant for steamers. And in 1868, Ellis renamed it the more memorable Valvoline. Valvoline certainly had a strong association with John for over 40 years, a great association, and of course when John signs off with Valvoline, the original engine oil, it feels like it has a viscosity rating of about 3,000 hours. And we have some 5 million containers of Valvoline that we'll see here tonight, and there's nothing to like this later in the night. Also, great to see Jeremy Cordeaux, AM here as well tonight. Jeremy, of course, no stranger to radio and journalism, well known in Sydney early on 2GB on television and later in Adelaide, where he owned several radio stations. And apart from all of that, Jeremy also has a fabulous collection of collector cars, so welcome, Jeremy. Lastly, a special welcome to Warren Brown, News Corp's cartoonist and motor journalist here at our table tonight. Each day captures the very essence of our lives with his caricatures in the Daily Telegraph and elsewhere. You can see one of his caricatures in the room here tonight, capturing Francis Berthon in a 1-cylinder American brush, making it the first west-east car crossing in Australia from Fremantle to Melbourne in 1912. It's up here on the table, which Warren did for our 120th anniversary last year. Warren will in fact be our special dinner guest next month on March 22, when he will detail the route of his latest motoring adventure, the reenactment of Francis Berthon's epic 1927 8-month, 26,000 kilometre odyssey from London to Melbourne in a 14 horsepower beam. We in fact had an excellent press function here in November with the Premier Chris Menz to announce the reenactment, Warren will set off from London in early September in a similar 1925 beam, and like Francis Berthon, he'll be calling here at the RAC on the way down to Melbourne. One suspects after 26,000 kilometres, a lot leaner and weather beaten than he is today. That's enough for me for a while. Please enjoy your dinner and company, and I'll be back to talk with John in a very relaxed fashion at his fabulous cars following dessert. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed your dinner, and I think the food here was quite exceptional tonight, so please let me know what your thoughts were on it, because we're really pleased. Well, I guess we've got a fairly long career here, so I want to keep John for hours. So, born in New Guinea and then educated from about 5 at Mosman Preparatory School and at Knox Grammar School in Sydney. By 18 you started your radio career as an announcer at 3BO Bendigo. Obviously at 18 you were driving at that age. You were a driver at that age?
You bet.
Yeah. What were you driving out of interest?
An Austin Meteor. An Austin Meteor.
Austin?
Has anybody ever heard of an Austin Meteor?
Yeah, I had one. Austin 7. Yeah, wonderful little car. You obviously had an early interest in cars, John. Did that come from your father? Was your father a keen motorist?
No, not really.
Not really?
No.
You'd always just had to...
No, my father was the worst buyer of motor cars ever. The first car I remember him buying after we were evacuated from New Guinea and we came down to live in Sydney, the first car he came home with was, you probably never heard of it, a Graham Page. You heard of it? What a pile of crap that was. Anyway, I talked him out of that and we ended up with a wonderful old Studebaker limousine.
Huh?
And it was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was long and it had little double seats in the back behind the main seat where my sister and I used to sit, even if the back seat was vacant. We used to love these little seats. I loved that car. It was a great car.
Yeah. Right. Well, I have to say that I met John in the very early 60s, not that he'd remember me, but having been an early Rolls-Royce aficionado, John used to frequent George Sevenach's used Rolls-Royce showroom in Crow's Nest. I'm sure some of the older guys here would know George Sevenach's showroom. It's actually located at the site of the current metro station they're building in Crow's Nest.
Why did you say some of the older people? Do you think that my audience is old?
No, not at all, but you know, I'm going on my own age. Going on my own age of being 80. I'm only a young spring chicken compared to you, but anyway, I used to call in to George Sevenach's showroom. Quite often you'd see John wandering around through the cars, and George was a bit of a character. He always wore a Hawaiian shirt, and he started buying old Rolls Royces in the bush post-war, and he used to bring them to Sydney, and of course at that point in time the vintage car movement was taking off and he built up quite a significant business. And John actually bought a few cars from him in those early days, and one who John talks about driving an Austin 7 Meteor. I had an Austin 7 Roadster, and I was at Epping Railway Bridge one day, and this bloke pulled up beside me in a 20 horsepower Rolls-Royce Tourer, and it was John Law's. And I vividly remember that. I mean, I'm talking about 1961, probably. And it was a beautiful little Tourer. the body was by the Melbourne Motor Body Company. So there you are, it was a locally built coachwork. And how long did you have that car for, John?
Oh, I can't remember. No, I really can't remember how long I had any of them for, because I kept buying them.
Yeah. Well,
I have to say I kept buying them when I couldn't afford them.
Well, George was a wonderful salesman, of course, but I know, I looked up Rolls-Royce in the Sunburn Country, which is somewhat of the Bible for early Rolls-Royces in Australia, and I noticed you had a 1939 2530 Wraith HJ Mulliner Sedanka DeVille, very fancy sort of car.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah. First owned by the Bushell family of tea fame.
Oh, that's right. But I had cars before that. I had one that there've been a few that I hated selling, that now I think about it if I was mad to sell them.
Yeah.
And one was an MGB, which was before a TC,
Yeah.
and it had a drop head coupe hood on it.
Right.
And it was just the most wonderful little car, and I sold the bloody thing.
A TB, was it? Not an MGB, a TB.
No, not now. You're right.
Yeah,
You're right. Would you like to do the interview?
Anyway, moving on. You also had a 1950 Silver Dawn that you bought from George 7.
Oh, yes. What a lovely, lovely car. That belonged to the Bushell family, and it smelt of tea. But it was a lovely car.
A manual?
Sorry?
A manual car? Manual gear shift?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, manual.
Yeah, with the gear change on the right-hand
Yeah,
side.
yes, very nice. Yeah. So, did you start building a collection back then, John, or did you simply move from collector car to collector car as you could afford it at that stage?
Yeah. But I've always been mad about cars.
Yeah.
Always has loved. I love the mechanics of them. Love the look of them. And for some stupid reason, I enjoyed buying them.
It was very interesting that one of the guys on our motoring committee gave me some photographs the other day of John at Warwick Farm driving a Daimler SP250. Alan Hunt is on our motoring committee, and Alan's got an SP250 and he's got a spare engine, and he said the engine out of this Daimler was actually John Law's car. So, and of course, I showed John the photos tonight of him driving the car on Warwick Farm race circuit.
That was a very quick car.
Did you do any competition driving it?
No, but I did speed trials around Warwick Farm.
Right.
And I broke the record. I broke the record for saloon cars at Warwick Farm.
Right.
But I used to drive like a madman. I shouldn't be alive. I wouldn't be dead.
Well,
and then I wouldn't be here. And then you'd all be sad.
Well, Jody tells me that you drive rather sedately these days. And, no, you're not.
I don't do anything sedately.
Oh. All right, well, in that 70s and 80s and from up to 1996, I mean, you collected some fabulous collector cars. And but I'd like to firstly talk to you what you probably consider to be your daily drivers. If I look at the list here back in that period up to 1996.
You're off mic there, I can't hear you.
That better?
That's better.
Okay. A Mercedes-Benz 500 SEL.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quite a potent car.
Sorry?
A potent, rather. Yeah. A Jaguar XJS Cabriolet.
Yes.
A Mercedes-Benz 500 SL Roadster.
Yeah. Where'd you get all this stuff from?
Oh, I did a bit of reading.
Sure do. Yeah, that's right. All of those.
Porsche 911 Turbo. Lexus LS 400.
Yes.
Yep. A Toyota Land Cruiser Bandera 4-wheel drive. Toyota Land Cruiser Bandera.
Yep.
And it had an unusual bonnet ornament, like a mascot on
it. Yeah.
And I noticed in your auction, it actually stated that the bonnet ornament wasn't for sale. Can you remember that?
Yeah, it was a lion. The mascot was a lion.
Lion, was it?
Yeah, from memory.
Yeah. Do you still have it?
Because I'm a Leo. So I would have had a lion on them.
Ah, right. A Toyota MR2 Roadster. Now, I would have thought that'd be a pretty tight car for you, an MR2.
A what?
A Toyota MR2.
Yes, it is. I needed the shoehorn to get into the
A Toyota Land Cruiser four-wheel drive with the number plate mongrel.
Number plate what?
Mongrel.
That's right, yeah. that was when I was called the mongrel. When this marvellous man, I don't know what happened to him first, but he really hated me. And he used to ring up and he'd say, and he had this terrible voice, and he'd say, well, I know all about you walking around and putting your hand up ladies' dresses. You mongrel, you consumptive looking thing. Here I
am. So, out of those that I mentioned, did you have a particular favourite? I mean, would I consider you to be an off-roader, or were you more an on-road driver? You know, did you like going off-road?
Loved it.
Loved it?
Yeah, loved it. And somebody is here tonight, Jerry Lister is here tonight somewhere. And
there he is.
Yeah. And Jerry and I drove in an Ampol round Australia trial. Oh, we had some fun. I remember kidnapping a school teacher from Alice Springs, and she was very nice. We had to leave her at Mount Isa. She wasn't mad about that, but anyway.
And, you know, did you have a particular leading to a mark? I mean, did you like Porsches or Mercedes? Was there something that particularly, you know, in terms of make that you liked?
Oh, well, anything I bought I liked.
Yeah.
Otherwise I wouldn't have bought it. But I loved Porsches back when they were fashionable. The Carrera was a terrific motor car.
Carrera, yeah.
But then I grew to bigger vehicles, and I liked those, Mercedes and things like that.
So sports cars appealed too, of course. I mean, the SP, the Daimler SP. How long did you have the Daimler SP for?
How long what?
How long did you have it for, the Daimler?
The SP250?
SP250.
I can't remember, not long, but I'll tell you what, that was a hell of a car.
Was it?
That was a great car. But they were understated because they were brought out by Daimler to combat the XK120 Jaguar, and they never cut it, but it was a great car. Very, very fast.
Quite heavy too. Quite a heavy car.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So then, from 1996 to 2001, you had some impressive drivers, and you know, I'm sorry to ramble through them, but Mercedes-Benz S600 Saloon, a Mercedes-Benz 500 SEC two-door coupe. They were quite quick. An Aston Martin DB7 Vantage Volante V8.
Oh, what a car.
You had two of those.
I did, yes.
Metallic blue and also black. Of course, they reckon Volante is good for flying in Italian, and obviously they suggested they were quick, but you obviously enjoyed driving them. You obviously enjoyed driving them.
Oh, yeah, I love driving.
Yeah.
I still love driving.
Yeah. An SLK 230 Roadster, Mercedes.
Yep.
Aston Martin Vanquish V12.
Oh, the Vanquish. There was a car.
Designed by Ian Callum. 5.9 litres with just 1,500 of them made. Quite a rare car. Was that a favourite? That a favourite of yours?
Yeah.
A Bentley Continental R. The last of the crew-built Bentleys.
Yep. I've still got that, I think.
A Bentley, I think you might have the latest Bentley Continental, haven't you? Or have you still got the old one?
No, I've got a two-door, but I've got a current Bentley.
Right.
I hate saying all this. It sounds awful.
I'm sorry to go through it, but I wanted to cover all the models, so I didn't miss anything. And of course, that was one of the last of the hand-built Bentleys too, which was a beautiful car, the Continental R. Very pretty. Then, a couple of interesting cars, John. A couple of German coupes, an Audi TT in both two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive.
Yeah, what a good little thing that was.
Yeah?
Oh yeah, that Audi, the TT, it was like it was on rails. I loved it. It was just too small, but I loved it.
Yeah.
But I would have killed myself in it, so it's probably good.
Then two Lexus SC430 coupe convertibles, hardtop convertibles, both silver. I'd imagine that was during your association with Toyota and Lexus, wasn't it? An interesting car, a 4.3 litre V8, primarily built for the US market. They weren't, I don't think, the prettiest car. You might disagree. What did you think of them?
Oh, great car. Beautifully made.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, good car. Good car.
Yeah. I remember they were very stiff, even with the top, with the electric top folder, the hard top folder, they were quite stiff still, which is quite unusual. Two Lexus LX470 four-wheel drives. That's the big Toyota Lexus badged Toyota Land Cruiser. One silver, one black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, you really got the information.
I really got into it. And in many ways a more luxurious and upscale Land Cruiser 100. Heavy, but a lot of V8 power in them. Did you go off-road with those much?
No,
No?
not really.
Yeah. Then a custom-built Toyota Tarago with red leather interior.
Yeah, that's right. That was good fun. It was a